Hi, this is Arkady Frekhtman. I'm a New York City personal injury trial attorney. And today I wanted to talk about voir dire and jury selection and the idea of sympathy. One of the favorite questions that the defendants like to ask in voir dire goes to sympathy. And they say, oh, Mr. or Mrs., you may feel sympathy for this injury victim. And it's just natural. Of course, because they're so seriously injured, they've had a life-changing injury. And if you feel sympathy, would you be able to set that aside? Maybe you can't set that aside and you just can't be fair. And then they try to get jurors off for what's known as cause, because that's a reason you can't judge the case, because you can't base a decision on sympathy. But remember, the important thing as a plaintiff's attorney is not that you can't have sympathy. People can have sympathy. You just can't base the decision, right? The verdict can't be based only on sympathy. And so you have to make that distinction as a plaintiff. And one of the ways to do it is you can give them an example. You could say, I have a little kid, right? And that little kid is really, really afraid of going to the dentist. He doesn't want to go to the dentist, but he needs to go to the dentist. And he's crying, and he or she is crying, upset, and just having a temper tantrum. And I feel really bad because I know, hey, I got to take little Johnny to the dentist, and the dentist is going to have to do maybe some kind of a cavity and a little drilling, and I feel really bad. But the fact that I feel bad and I have sympathy for my child, is that going to factor into my decision whether or not to take him to the dentist? If I know he has a cavity and he needs the dental work? No, right? I'm still going to take him to the dentist because I know that's medically needed. So that's the same thing with this, right? You can feel sympathy, but that can't be the only factor in driving your decision for the plaintiff or the defendant. And in the same way, just like you're allowed to have sympathy, you're allowed to have empathy, which is feeling with someone, right? In the same way, you can't have sympathy for the defendant. And what is sympathy for the defendant? Well, let's say a little old lady's driving a car and she hits down a pedestrian, and the pedestrian has massive injuries and has multiple surgeries, and the medical bills are $1 million, and the lost wages are $2 million, and the pain and suffering is tremendous, and the plaintiff's attorney is up there saying this is a $10 million case. Can you think, well, how is this little old lady driving this old beat-up car going to be able to pay $10 million? I don't want to award that kind of an amount. Well, guess what? That's sympathy for the defendant, right? Because you can't think about where the money is going to come from, whether it's this little old lady or whether it was like Bill Gates or Elon Musk driving the car. It doesn't matter. You're just an appraiser saying what the value is. And then the courts and the judges and the appellate courts, they're the ones that then decide how to deal with it, right? Whether it gets paid, you don't know. These are certain things that you as a juror just don't know. If it's going to be paid, when it's going to be paid, how it's going to be paid. Because you could render a verdict for $10 million and then later there's an appeal and then there's another trial, right? Or there's a motion, and there's so many possibilities. So it's really important to explain to the jurors this idea of being like a fair-minded, neutral appraiser and just putting a value on something as opposed to worrying about exterior factors. And some lawyers actually say, hey, it's like a box, right? And it has to be whatever's the evidence is what's inside the box, but whatever's outside the box is just outside the box. You can't think about that. And some people, jurors can agree to that. Okay, I'll just be inside the box. And some jurors can't. They just can't. They're going to think about what's outside the box, whether it's sympathy for a plaintiff who's really hurt, or I just feel so bad because, my child was hurt and I see this involves a child that was hurt in a similar way. I just can't put it aside, right? And the same thing for the defendant. Some people are going to think, oh, I feel so bad. I can't allow for $10 million. This little old lady, they're going to take away her house. I just can't do it, right? So then they can't be fair, and then you exclude them for cause. You have to be mindful of that. If you're a personal injury plaintiff and you have an attorney, make sure the attorney is a trial attorney, that they know how to pick a jury. But that's one of the questions where the defense lawyer gets up in front of a jury and he says, you're going to feel sympathy for this, poor plaintiff, and you can't help it, right? So that's where it's important. You can have sympathy as long as you don't base your decision on it. And in the same way, you have to exclude sympathy for the defendant as well. So I hope this was helpful. Let us know what questions you have. We are here for you. Our goal is helping serious injury victims and families. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and all the best.